Hey, this is Double R. I wanted to tell you that Anchor by Spotify is a great and easy way to make a podcast with everything you need and all in one place. Anchor has the tools to allow you to record, edit your podcast straight from your phone or your computer. When hosting with Anchor, you can distribute your podcast to all listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Best of all, it's totally free. So go down the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. This is the Let's Roll Podcast with your host, Double R. What up, everybody? It's your host that rose the most, Double R, and this is the Let's Roll Podcast on Labor Day. I'm recording this actually on Labor Day. It will come out tomorrow as of this recording. So look out. But by the time you hear this, we will have already recorded this, and it would be Tuesday, and it's all good. But today's episode is called Jerry's Kid. Now, it's not what you think. I'm not going to talk about my father, but I am going to talk about one of the things that I looked forward to every Labor Day weekend, and like for years as a child growing up. This is the one thing that I looked forward to at this time of year around Labor Day, and that was the Muscular Dystrophy Jerry Lewis Telethon, or MD Telethon, and so that is something that I wanted to talk about, and I'll get why the title is Jerry's Kid, but we're going to do all that and more right after this. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it. The Muscular Dystrophy Telethon was started back in 1966, and Jerry Lewis was a part of it all the way up until 2010. And then I'm not totally sure, and I could be totally wrong, but I believe he stopped doing it because they asked him to leave the organization or not be the host anymore. I think it was something that he did. There was some kind of controversy that he did that caused his participation in it to come to an end. But for years, again, from 1966 all the way up to 2010, he was a part of it. And then once he wasn't a part of it, it went from like a 24-hour telethon to I think it was first time they ran it was maybe less than 24 hours. Then it went like to 2 hours, and then I think it went to 1 hour, and then it was done. And the last time it aired on TV was 2014. So I remember my fond memories of growing up and watching it was just seeing all the different celebrities, and I would do my best to stay up all night long and watch it over and over and over. I mean, not over and over, but constantly watch it to see what celebrity was coming out next. And I also remember how they would go from, I think they shot in Los Angeles, but every state had a local affiliate that would do the telethon. So when they weren't showing something where they were taping, then they would, switch over to the local, part of the telethon. And most of that was just like a phone center with a bunch of people on the phones taking donations. And they would interview different people that had, muscular dystrophy or had a new organization, take big donations from like organizations like the firefighters and police, stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. And this one time I actually got to be on the local telecast of the telethon, and I was actually interviewed by Ron Stone, which is a Houston anchor, legendary Houston news anchor, and I was interviewed by him because I was donating money. So I got to be on camera to say, hey, got all this money and I'm going to donate, blah, blah, blah. Now, what's funny is that I always sat there and thought, well, muscular dystrophy has a telethon. Where's the telethon for OI or osteogenesis? I always thought that growing up. And I guess, the way I can look at it now is that maybe MD, and I'm assuming this, I'm not seeing this by any concrete evidence, that I guess I assume that MD was a lot bigger and it was also more, I don't want to say well known, but it was more prominent. A lot more people had MD than people had OI. But it's always, one of these things that you think of going, well, I got a problem. I got an issue. How come there ain't no telethon for me? How come there's no famous person, involved in putting on a telethon and, giving all these celebrities and whatnot. But that being said, but it was a tradition for years for me to watch the telethon. And I remember seeing, old celebrities and, I saw Kiss on there. I saw stuff like Hulk Hogan. I can't remember all the acts that I saw, but I just remember seeing them and everything, and just enjoyed doing that. And it was a tradition, and I do like traditions. I wish some traditions would keep going, but I know that sometimes that traditions have to eventually come to an end, and I get that and understand that. But it was one of those every year traditions that I loved and enjoyed, and just really had fun with it. I want to get into some of the fundraising that I actually did, and a story or two, and I want to do all that right after this. So growing up, every year, like I said, we would the telethon would come around, and one of the traditions was, hey man, as soon as the telethon starts, we are up all night. Now, I don't know how many times I actually made it through the whole 24 hours. I believe I probably didn't hardly ever do that. But one of the things was to always go and do fundraising and go collect for the telethon. And so we would go around the neighborhood to collect for, MD, the telethon, and, and all that. And what I always thought was funny is there would be several groups of us, like kids in the neighborhood, that would go out and do it. And we would kind of, sometimes partner up. Like one or two of us would be together, and another two would get together, and we would just go through the neighborhood. And it always seemed like that whoever was with me, no matter who it was, but if they were with me, and we came back together with the rest of the group, and to talk about how much money we got, or how big our bag or bucket or whatever was full, it always seemed like mine was more full. Not mine, but my group was more full than everybody's. And I never really thought of it until I got a little bit older and was going out and doing it, and realized, I think these people think I have muscular dystrophy. Now, I didn't tell them I didn't have it, but I would jokingly say that I was collecting for Jerry's. Now, I would say Jerry's kids, but I don't think it ever came out correctly, because it sounded like I was saying I'm collecting for Jerry's kids. Now, the jokingly behind that is my dad was named Jerry, and I was his kid. But I wasn't one of Jerry Lewis's kids, as they would like to say, because he was really passionate about raising money for muscular dystrophy and the kids and stuff like that. So I would always just jokingly say I'm collecting for Jerry's kid. And I guess in the back of their mind, they just went, oh, well, he has MD, and they're not going to say no to a kid that's in a wheelchair. I mean, for the most part, there might have been a handful of people that just said, "No, I'm not going to do it," or I don't have the money," or whatever. But very few times did that happen. Matter of fact, we probably got more money just the fact that I was in a wheelchair and I was collecting for muscular dystrophy. And so it was always funny to me that here are the people just donating, and they're really donating because I'm in a wheelchair and they think I have muscular dystrophy. So that was a kind of a funny thing about that. And then there was this one year that we went to go collect, and it was just me and my friend this time. We didn't have a group of us. It's just me and another friend. And we went around and we collected all this money, and we had every intention. Collect this money and go give it, and go donate it. But for whatever reason, after we spent pretty much all day going around collecting money, and we had all kinds of money. If I had to guess, we had anywhere probably from probably $60 to $100 maybe. So anyway, what I was saying that so we went around the neighborhood, spent all day collecting for the telethon or for MD, and we, for whatever reason, when we got back, we tried to get somebody to take us to donate it. And nobody either didn't have the time, didn't want to do it, whatever, so we couldn't take it. And so we waited until the next day because we thought we could go the next day, and it didn't happen. So here we are with this money, and no way to get it to where we wanted to get it. And as dumb kids that we are, and I'm probably going to hell because I'm going to admit this, but we ended up, me and my friend, just splitting it up and using it for whatever. And I'm not proud of that, but it was funny because just thinking back on it, it's kind of funny just that we went around. But then again, I look at it as, hey, I was collecting for Jerry's kid, and I'm Jerry's kid, and that's what I did. So I collected it and I donated it to myself. That's, again, that wasn't, we didn't intentionally go out and do that. It just ended up working, or we ended up doing it, but that's not what we set out to do. And things can't work in our favor. So that's just what happened. But hey, guys, this is going to be a little short episode. I wanted to do something for Labor Day, and I hope everybody had a good Labor Day and had fun and did whatever. It's been raining here in the Houston area for the last probably 3 weeks. Not constantly, but it seemed like every day we had a chance of rain, and it just didn't let up until probably about, I guess, today is Sunday, so it probably lifted up around Saturday. Also, the reason I didn't get an episode out like on time, like would have released it today, is because I had a problem with my podcast mixer. I have a Rodecaster Pro 2, and the first one I had that one problem, and today I found a video on YouTube that showed me the same problem I had, and apparently I must have got one of the models that were one of the or early release models, and it had that problem where if you tapped anything around the Rodecaster, it would set off one of the sound pads. And so I had to send that back. I returned it and got a refund. And then I bought me another one, but I didn't buy it from Amazon this time around. I bought it from a company called Sweetwater. Look them up online. They do all kind of audio equipment. They're really good. I bought several pieces of equipment and stuff from them. They work with you, and their customer service is great. And one of the reasons I went with them was because they offer a 2-year warranty above and beyond the manufacturer warranty. And not only that, if you have an issue with your deal, you can send it to them, and then they will work with the manufacturer to either get it fixed or get you a new one or whatnot. So that's why I went with that. So I had to wait for that to come in. Then I had this bright idea of tearing apart my setup. I believe there's a couple of pictures on the website. I have a small wooden desk, and I've kind of fixed it all up for it to function for me, being in a wheelchair. And so I got this bright idea to tear that apart and reorganize some things a little bit to make it function a little bit better for me. And so I had to put all that back together. So long story short, I just didn't have everything set up and ready to go to record an episode. So that's what I've been doing for the last several days. But again, thank you for coming out. Why do I always say that? You don't come out. Thank you for listening to this episode. Again, it's going to be a little short, brief episode here. It's a Labor Day episode, and I just wanted to do it because I thought about it like it was, this month. I was like, okay, what's some episodes I can do? And when I saw it was Labor Day was coming up, I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk about Labor Day. So that's what I did. So with all that being said, make sure you go to the letsrollpodcast.com. You can find the link in the description below. And as always, until next time, let's roll.
Hey, this is Paula, and you're listening to the Let's Roll podcast with host Double R. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media. Find links in the description below or at theletsrollpodcast.com.